it's my honor to announce Piere Hessler version 1.0, maybe for the last time, to summarize it and make sense of it all. So Piere, please join me on stage.
Thank you, Michiel.
And do your magic.
I would recommend you ask my Piere 2.0 to do it, so I could listen to it with great interest and satisfaction.
Well, actually we have. No.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Well, for the last time, I can congratulate my friends who have organized this summit. Each one seems to become better than the previous one. It's quite amazing. And one could think that these are extraordinarily brilliant people. I heard someone say that yesterday, and that it comes by magic. But let me tell you, it's not the case, because the amount of intelligence and work they put into it is phenomenal. But the result is spectacular. So, by the way, the speakers have been extraordinary, and all of them so interesting. You know, you never want to lose a minute from such a summit. So, summarizing it, I'm not going to do. Okay, I cannot. I think it would require a month of work to produce with artificial intelligence help, to produce a good summary. So I'm not going to do it. However, listening for this day, these 2 half days, I come to the conclusion that there are 5 very important things you need to do in your companies. And actually, these things are bigger than the ones I came to after the previous summit. So somehow there is a kind of an, I don't know if this is an English word, but an ominousness of what we discuss, an overwhelming character of what's happening. Death and life, I think you said, Michiel, these are becoming death and life questions, maybe for humans, certainly, but also for corporations. So here are the 5 points, the 5 moves I'd like to advocate at the end of this summit. The first one is move to hard-nosed sustainability. Hard-nosed. Second, better grasp, or as some people say, better croc behaviors. These two relate obviously to sustainability in some ways. The 2 next relate to AI. The third one is cultivate the originality of your company. The fourth one is reinvent trust. And the fifth one is a consequence of the 4 previous ones, because I think to do the 4 I just mentioned requires extraordinary talent, requires powerful people, and therefore my 5th move is I recommend that you obsess about key resources. Obsess about key resources. Maybe you want a couple of words of explanation on these 5 points, or are they crystal clear enough that I can end up here? Maybe a few words? Maybe a few words, okay. So the first one, move to hard-nosed sustainability. We heard Cyril Garcia this morning say, by golly, we need to start planning seriously for sustainability, because it takes lots of time, it's difficult, it involves everyone, etc. And I think the same is true. He was saying that overall, I think the same level of seriousness is required in each company. By the way, some of them have done it already. I don't want to imply that this would be a new thing for every company. However, I'm struck by the fact that with the economic pressures rising in virtually every country, guess which programs are the first which get cancelled or postponed? These are the sustainability-related things. Because they are a little bit too soft, they are not justified by hard economic laws, and therefore it's easy to cut them off. So I believe we need to base every sustainability move on a tough benefits case so that it is, protected by the ironclad laws of economics in our companies. And then they will become more resilient. It will be more difficult to cancel them if they are really based on hard-nosed economic reasoning. So that's the first point. The second one is to better grasp or grok the behaviors. And what we have learned, notably through the history lesson of yesterday, is that there will be no change in significant aspects of sustainability if we do not change behaviors. Our behaviors, the behaviors of our employees, the behaviors of our clients, the behaviors of our partners. Now, guess what? I've been studying behaviors for the last 5 years in enterprise, and this is the most difficult topic. Because behaviors are hard to understand, hard to observe, and even harder to change. And by the way, we don't have that many skills within the company able to deal with behaviors. And notably, managers are the worst to deal with behaviors. So you need to make it a core competence of your company to better deal with behaviors, understanding and trying to change them. And building that competence is not easy, it's an important move, but I do encourage you to go beyond the propaganda, to go beyond the agenda of the marketing organization, to have some real intelligence about behaviors. So the third one is cultivate the originality of your company. Because if there is one thing which is clear is that the digital world up to now and the digital AI-infested world from now on has one powerful effect on companies. It is commoditizing companies. Because everybody does the same things, by golly. Everybody wants to give the same user experience. Everybody wants to give the same employee experience. There is a normalization of objectives and moves which is striking and which threatens, over time, to make your company like all the others, losing your originality. And there is nothing worse, in my opinion, which can happen to a company than losing its originality. So look into your corporate culture, find out, if that were needed, find out what makes you an original company. And then in every move you consider or you decide in the digital and the AI world, think of your originality and what can bolster it, what can buttress your originality, rather than leveling you off to some kind of average. My fourth point is to reinvent trust. Because if there is one thing which is destroyed by AI, generative AI, regenerative AI, degenerative AI, it is clearly trust. Because we can draw all the nice black boxes we want on the screen, right? That's not going to increase the trust in your company, to see it as a series of black boxes. Now, rebuilding trust in the classical way, let's be transparent, let's explain, let's communicate better, etc., will not work. You need to invent new ways to building trust. And this is far from being obvious. But for example, you could say, I'm going to introduce new guarantees or warranties around my products and my services, which will manifest the trust I have in my products, in what my AI has produced. Because if I show my trust by a different form of warranty, then the trust of your client in your products and services will automatically grow. You can also vouch for the results which you produce, so you don't vouch for the process because the process is inexplainable, but you can vouch for the results, engage your reputation on the results, or you can find new ways of interacting with your stakeholders. There are all kinds of ways, new ways or relatively new ways to reinvent trust, which for sure is going to be badly damaged by what happens with AI. Now, when I look back at these 4 things to do, by golly, they are difficult. This is going to take a lot of brain power, a lot of efforts to kind of make these 4 moves, I believe. I've been wrong before, by the way. But it will take a lot, and who can do that? And the problem is that the only people who can do that in your company are the best. And you have to take a totally elitist view of your human resources. Because when you look at any operation, it is carried by a very small number of people. And actually, I did the exercise with some of my colleagues at CAP, where we said a colleague having a 700 million euro business, a large business, and I counted with this colleague the people who carry that business accompanied by others, but they carry it basically. Key resources. And this is less than 0.5% of the resources. With this colleague, we counted 25 key resources for a 700 million complicated business. Now, what happens is that these key resources are not your usual HR numbers, okay? By golly, they need to be recruited differently, they need to be trained differently, they need to be motivated differently, they need to be replaced differently when you need to replace them, and they need to form apprentices to have the next generation of key resources. And all of that explodes out of the usual HR management systems. These 25 people, my colleague said, I know who they are, I love them, I know their role, I don't devote enough time to them. I don't put them on a pedestal where they should be. Therefore, my 5th move, which I would recommend, is to obsess about key resources and devote a significant amount of your time to the well-being and the future of your key resources. This way you can do the 4 other things which I believe are needed after listening to this wonderful summit. This will be my little legacy. Thank you and goodbye.